Hello everybody, today we're going to be reviewing the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. Now the Five Nights at Freddy's movie was released back in October 2023. It was first released in England on October 25th, and then 2 days later it was released here in the United States on October 27th. And it was released by Blumhouse Studios. Now this film was in production for eight and a half years, starting in April of 2015 and now being released in October of 2023. With a budget of $20 million, it made $297.2 million in the box office and has a running time of 109 minutes, which is about 1 hour and 49 minutes. Now, the film was directed by Emma Temme, and the screenplay was done by Scott Cawthon, of course, who is the creator of Five Nights at Freddy's, along with Chris Lee Hill and Tyler McIntyre. Now, the film was produced also by Scott Cawthon, of course, along with Jason Blum, and the music score for the film was done by, of course, by the Newton Brothers. Now, this film is based off of course, the Five Nights at Freddy's video games, one of the largest indie horror video game franchises there is. I mean, everybody knows it. And in a couple of months, FNAF's going to be 10 years old. Which is crazy. I saw the film when it came out. I saw it when it first came out, or at least a couple of days afterwards. But anyways, I saw the film and I thought it was great. It was amazing. When I first saw that film, it was like, one of the best films I had ever seen. It blew any movie-going experience I had ever seen out of the waters, because it was a film I really cared about. The movies I had seen a few years before, I didn't really care about that much. I didn't care for them. I didn't know anything about them. But this is the FNAF movie. I, along with everybody else, waited 8 whole years for this film to come out, and finally it's out. But of course, a while has passed, and the FNAF movie is coming out late next year. So I decided, after all this is blown over, in FNAF movie mania, I'm gonna give my thoughts on the movie and all that sort of stuff when you make a review about a film. So, yeah, I'm gonna do that. So let's start, of course, where all films start, at the beginning. Now, at the start of the film, we get to see a 32-bit reenaction of the missing children's incident of 1985, as we see the purple guy put on the spring bodysuit and lure away the corpse of children in the incident, taking them off into the back room, as is all dramatized in this sort of 32-bit sort of way, as it also has a really, really good music. Very ominous, sort of spooky, scary music that was done by the Newton Brothers. It's really great. It's absolutely fantastic. And just the way they showed it, of course, is reminiscent of the 8-bit mini-games we see in things such as FNAF 2 or FNAF 3 and all the other FNAF games, because they have them a lot. And it was a really good way to start off a film, really it is. It's really great how they start off the film, with this sort of the intro. Now, the film is about a guy named Mike. Now, Mike has a little sister named Abby, who he is the parental guardian of. Now, Mike has just lost his job due to the fact that he saw that he accidentally beat up a customer at a mall, which he mistook for a kidnapper trying to take a kid, when it was really just the customer's own kid. Now, eventually, he goes to his career counselor, and this guy's name is Steve Ragland, and he gives Mike a job working at Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria, which has been a long close for a long time. Now, of course, the movie's set not in the modern day, nor is it set in 1993 like the first game. It's actually set in the year 2000, actually. Yeah, it is. If you watch closely during one scene film, you can see that it is set in the year Y2K. Now, the film draws from a lot of elements from a lot of the different games. It picks and chooses what it really wants to bring in. It doesn't follow one singular game, as even though it does mostly sort of fall clearly heavily inspired by the original game, it takes bits and elements of the first of many of the other games. Of course, the fact is it includes the purple guy, of course, as he didn't appear till FNAF 2. It includes the spring body animatronic, which also didn't appear until FNAF 3. And of course, it also includes a character named Vanessa, who sort of looks similar to Vanessa from the game Security Breach, one of the most recent FNAF games, and it was actually developed by Sealwood instead of Scott Cawthon. So it does take a bit here, And of course, also this is in its own separate timeline, as this version of Mike isn't an Afton. He's not related to the purple guy. This Mike is just a regular Joe Schmo, and they're not related, of course. Along with that, there's also some minor changes, of course, with the Golden Freddy character, or the one you should not have killed, the character who instead of being a girl as is widely believed by the fandom, but this time it's actually a guy, actually. As of course, also this Freddy Fazbear's Pizza has been long closed down once Mike's working there, and of course in the original game, which is clearly based off of, it's open. But this doesn't make it exactly that bad, really. This isn't any just sort of flaws or anything, but so it does stray away from the games, because some people wanted it to be directly based off of the film, like it's based off of the games. I mean, like it's your one-to-one or more similar, because of course what actually takes place in the film is exactly, of course, that close to what happens in the games, of course, because that wouldn't be very entertaining, now is it? Now, so as for criticisms of the film, I gotta say is, well, the fact is, of course, the way Abby's written now, she's meant to be 10 years old in the film, though she's kind of written like a 6-year-old or a 7-year-old. It doesn't really make any sense to the way she kind of acts. She doesn't act like sort of like I don't think so. She acts like a 10-year-old. Especially around the animatronics. As in the film, she befriends the animatronics. To make 4. As of course, then at the very end of the film, it turns out that of course that they want to make her one of them, and Mike's got to stop that. Now, she doesn't seem to see that this is a bit off. Why? I mean, anybody who's 10 years old, regular 10-year-old should figure, hey, just because you're kind of right doesn't make any sense. That does that, because in a way she just acts sort of. Doesn't make sense for a 10-year-old to act. She acts like she's made a whole lot younger, which is meant to be a whole lot younger than 10 years old. But now, a good thing I gotta say is the fact that a lot of people complain about the fact that the fort building scene in the FNAF movie where Abby and the animatronics all build a big old fort. But of course, if you really think about it, and of course their portrayal is not that scary for a good majority of the film. Of course, near the end of the film, they do become sort of minor, sort of antagonists, you could say. But if you really think about it, these are still meant to be kids, and they just want friends. That's all if you really think, because they've been there for who knows how long. At least, if we're going based off of the games, for at least 15 years, they just been there, live there in a pizzeria. So of course, and they still are sort of kids, of course. So the game the film sort of humanizes what I'm trying to say. They humanize the missing children, which has never been done really before in any of the games or even sort of the books. From what I've learned or what I've read from the books, we never truly get to be human. They never really humanize them. They're just people who have died, and now they're just that. They're just things like tally, 1 dead kid, 2 dead kid, 3 dead kid, that sort of stuff. So of course, here's some sort of something that they hadn't really done. Now, of course, another thing I gotta say is that a lot of the info we find out in the film, instead of the way they do it isn't that great. Actually, isn't that great? It's just told directly to Mike by the character of Vanessa. She just directly states it to him. He doesn't find it out by himself. Doesn't go look and investigate what's going on in this place and figure it out. All the plot points and all the details are just told directly to Mike. The missing kids, of course. Why they roam around, why they're walking around and seem sentient. They're possessed by dead kids and a bunch of other stuff. She just full on tells Mike. He doesn't figure it out. And of course, the fact is also she brings up the fact these are dead kids in those machines, and she never brings it up ever again. They don't really bring it up. And there was nothing ever really leading up to that, which they could have done that, of course. They could have done that, because, that's just how you make a film. Like, I don't know, let's say, one of the characters makes a mention that, they kind of smell a little bit funky. Maybe Abby would make that sort of mention, because she's really close to them. She might have mentioned how they kind of smell a little bit weird. which would make sense too, even because in the original games there was a poster which says that they smelled awful, and that there was dry blood and stuff and mucus coming out of the eyes and mouth. That could have been, they could have had that. Maybe Mike could have noticed how there's like some dried blood on Freddy's mouth or something like that, or that there are, I don't know, flies around them, something like that. Something to sort of indicate anything like that. And they could have really done the lore dropping a lot better. They could have done it a lot better, of course. And of course, so they could have done that better, but hey, the film, you can't change it after it's already come out. Now, of course, the twist at the end that the Steve Raglan guy is the purple guy, it's really not that big of a twist, truly, is it? And also, really, we only got to see Steve, like, once in the whole film, and then twice, and actually technically sort of twice, because we hear him over the telephone. So really, that's a big of a twist, if you could even call it a twist. As, of course, besides, like, a few other people, he's really the only person there. That you could have figured, oh, he could be the man behind the slaughter, you could say. But, but the props and effects are really good. Jim Henson's Creature Shop did a wonderful job putting this all together. The animatronics, they look great, and this big body costume, it looks great. The special effects are also pretty great too. It's real good. They put a lot of effort to it, and you could tell. Absolutely amazing, of course. Just some brand new music. Now, a lot of people pointed out too is that the film isn't that scary. Because it isn't. That is true. It's not that scary. But the film isn't meant to be scary. It's a thriller. The scares and the spooks are secondary. The mystery and the intrigue, that's the main focal point of the film. And of course, you gotta remember, when most people talk about the FNAF, most people in the FNAF community, they're about the lore, you could say. The lore, they're all about that. The mysteries, like which bite of 87, who was the victim of the bite of 87, who did the bite of 87, why is the man behind the slaughter, why did he commit the slaughter, or where did the Fazbear franchise start, or who's the one you should not have killed, are there one soul or two souls possessing Golden Freddy, we may never know. It's like, so you really think about it, it's kind of what, the FNAF franchise is about, mystery, and that's what thrillers typically focus on, to read some spooks and scares here and there, but, more about a mystery. Anyways, and of course also the film's pretty bloodless, and the kills, there are a couple of kills, but they're fairly bloodless. Of course, people complain about that, thinking that that the games early on were like a horror bloodfest, but of course, in the early games, like first game, for example, the closer we get to blood or guts, is when we see Mike's eyes out of the Freddy costume when he died. The closest thing to that, next following that, was the third game where we saw an 8-bit purple guy bleed to death after to get spring-locked, just stabbed everywhere. It's a real gruesome way to go if you really think about it. But of course also, and we see that in the film, of course, they're taking more, like I said, they're taking elements from the other games. As at the end of the film, purple guy, he gets spring-locked after Chica's cupcake, bites him, and then it causes the spring locks to go off. And of course, he says the iconic line, "I always come back." That was great. As of course, the ending, as the credits are even great too. The credits are wonderful, as we get to hear the Living Tombstones Five Nights at Freddy's song, which is like the theme song for the Five Nights at Freddy's community. Everybody knows that song. It's wonderful. The fact they put it in there was crazy, and it was nuts. And of course, also I can't forget about the fact that they got MatPat in this film. Yeah, he was a waiter at Sparky's Diner as a Ness, a reference to the Sam's Ness theory. That was one of his more well-known theories, but it was great they got MatPat in this film. It was wonderful when I saw him. Anyways, and of course, they also got Corey X. Kenshin in the film. He appeared 2 times as a taxi driver. At the very end, he gets jump scared by a little miniature balloon boy, which is kind of a running gag in the film. That was a pretty good gag when they had that. Markiplier was supposed to be in the film, but he was too busy doing the Iron Lung movie. And when the Iron Lung movie out, anyways. But it's
not cool.
It's pretty good, and of course it got a lot of Easter eggs, like Sparky the dog, a famous early hoax in the FNAF movies, in the FNAF novels, in the FNAF games, and of course also, and also a lot of, and also just in general a lot of other things, yo. Also, yo, the movie was made for the fans. It wasn't made for the general audience. Of course, that's kind of a holdback, yo. You could say, because yo, you could have brought it to FNAF, yo, the FNAF fan to a whole lot of people. So many people you could have introduced the film to, but you didn't. And of course, some see it as a good thing, some see it as a bad thing. I see it as a good thing, because they probably would have soiled it if they tried to appeal to everybody, the general wide masses, who, of course, if you tried to make it, you know, close to the games and the lore, they wouldn't want to watch that movie. No one would. I don't think so. Anyways, but you know, all in all, I would say it is pretty good. You know, special effects are good. The acting's, you know, good too. But you know, of course, like I said, all the plot points and details, such as the missing children's incident, factoring the stuff in the bodies, that's just told blankly to Mike. And he doesn't figure it out. He doesn't find it out. And you know, he doesn't do any work to find us all at all. She's, you know, the character Vanessa kind of works as like to spit out the lore. And of course, also the fact is the reason why she came to Freddy's, because she was supposed to make sure that the night guard doesn't catch on, and if he catches on, kill him, like her dad said. But of course, she goes around telling them all the info. She tells them all the missing kids, that they're in the body. She tells them everything. For some reason, I mean, like her dad gave her one job, and she couldn't even do that one job. Technically, it's two, which that's a running gag, sort of, in the movie, because, but anyway, sort of, yeah. But you know, and of course, you see Raglan being the purple guy isn't much of a twist. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think technically you might counter as a twist. And of course, you know, the Springtrap death is fairly bloodless, no blood or anything. But I know in the 8-bit video games there was a whole lot of blood. He would just drown in blood. But realistically, yeah, that's what would happen. You wouldn't bleed out. There wouldn't be blood soaking around everywhere. That wouldn't happen in real life because the suit would keep everything contained in there and wouldn't really leak out that much. And also, blood doesn't really like shoot out like that. It's not how it works. And at the end of the movie, Abby asks, "Can we see them? Can she see her friends again?" Which of course are the animatronics. And you know, the ending's pretty good, you know. Of course, it doesn't address a lot of things. It just should have been addressed. Like, you know, of course, the fact is that one of the plot point details in the film is that Abby's aunt is trying to take custody of her. And the only reason why she wants custody of Abby is because, you know, she wants the child support, she wants the monthly check she gets as, you know, as being her parental guardian. But, I mean, I don't really think that'd be that much, really. Like, in general, I know that, you know, because she actually hires like some lackey goons to go trash Freddy's, so it would look like, so Mike would get fired, and without a job, her, you know, apprenticeship of Abby would be transferred over to the aunt. But and you know, of course, she even contemplates murdering him for a quick moment, which means I'm pretty sure those sort of checks you get from the government for, you know, having you'd get from the government would be that much to want to murder a guy, or, you know, go to the length she does, you hire some guys to go trash the place. And those guys who break in, they're the only people who ever die in the film. They're, except for the security guard, of course, at the very start of the film, who was meant to be Markiplier. But it doesn't make sense that you would go through all of that effort just for the paycheck, for the checks, the government checks, because it wouldn't even be that much, really, especially back in the 2000 actually. So it doesn't make that much sense. And of course, then in the film, near the end of the film, when the animatronics are planning on turning Abby into one of them by putting her into one of the suits, Golden Freddy, you somehow gets to their house. I don't know how. Like, how the heck did he? And kills his aunt. And she doesn't, like, Abby doesn't even, like, really care at all. She doesn't, you know, there's no care that her aunt's dead, which doesn't make any sense. Like, she's not, like, and of course, at the start and then in the end of the film, they just kind of forget that Abby's aunt is laying dead in the living room. They completely forget about that. Like, how do you forget about that? They just don't acknowledge that. And they just kind of forget about the fact there's also dead kids in those bodies whose parents are probably still alive, wondering whatever happened to their kids. But hey, you know, you need a nice, you know, wrapped up ending, you know, so this up the second, because there's going to be a second movie sometime a little bit later next year. But, yeah, that's, but yeah. But all in all, it's a good movie, you know. It's pretty good. Yeah, that's like what I gotta say. Alright, so what rating I'm going to give it? Now, in these reviews, I'm going to be using a out of 10 rating scoring system. So the rating I'm giving it for our first ever review is a 6 out of 10. Now, you may be wondering why I give it a 6 out of 10, even though I had a lot of criticism to say about the film. Well, because the fact is, a lot of people made a lot of this film, but really think about it. That fact that all of this production, heck, they still made this movie, and it wasn't even that bad. Because it really isn't that bad, really. And also, I'm just a really big FNAF fan. I really like it, so it's kind of that. But still, the fact is, of course, they were able to make this film, and it wasn't complete garbage. You gotta give them props for that, because your special effects are amazing. The music score is great too. The opening music scoring, they used the FNAF song by the Living Tombstone. You got Map Hat, they got Corey Extension. And they also, like I mentioned, they humanized the missing children, which had really been done. Really showing that these aren't just these are kids still. Like, really think about it. All in all, these are still kids, and so that's why they're building that fort. That's why they built that fort, because that's who they are. And the funny moments kind of are pretty good too. But yeah, that's something. A 6 out of 10. I'll see you all guys tomorrow when I make my next review. What am I reviewing tomorrow? I don't know. I'll figure it out. See ya.